After the two sieges of Vienna in the years 1529 and 1683, objects that were left behind by the Ottoman troops were claimed as booty by the Christian allied forces that defended the city. Especially arms and armors, but also flags and tents, were highly sought after objects. Immediately after the sieges came to an end, the objects were used in triumphal processions all over Europe. The purpose was to mark not only the freedom of Vienna, but also the victory of Christianity over Islam. In a second step, most of the booty was added to imperial or aristocratic collections, and from this point onwards was used to shape the memory of the sieges. Hence, the object served as self-representation of the new Christian owners. Due to the rising demand for Ottoman objects, imitations were created. These arms and armors were crafted in an Ottomanizing fashion commissioned by aristocracy and Habsburg courts. Together with the original Ottoman objects, they were used as props for courtly festivities and tournaments. It can already be seen in Emperor Maximilian I's Freidal from the early 16th century that the figure of the Turk was part of the repertoire of courtly festivities, especially mummeries, which were costumed parades. In this context, it was not attempt to accurately imitate the clothing and appearance of the Ottomans, but rather to represent one's own interpretation of their appearance. Later, under Archduke Ferdinand II of Tyrol, also a great lover of courtly festivities and tournaments, the motif of the Turk reappeared. In addition, actual Turkica, so Ottoman and Ottomanizing objects, found use as part of the costumes worn at his festivities, even as part of costumes other than the Turk. For example, he held a tournament in the context of a wedding celebration at the end of the 16th century, which was visually documented in a tournament book. In one of the folios, one participant is depicted and he's shown as being dressed as a Turk. The turban and the saber he's carrying are characteristic attributes that are usually part of the costume of the Turk in courtly festivals. It is known that in these tournaments, the Ottoman party lost mostly, because the purpose of these mocked battles was to convey the message that the Christian side is always victorious over the Ottoman. Another peculiar figure, which was also equipped with Turkica in the festivities of Ferdinand II of Tyrol, is the Hussar. The Hussars were actually an elite corps of the Habsburg army that had its origin in Eastern European or Ottoman military forces. The Hussars' outfit, therefore, included sabers and coats that resembled Ottoman frock coats. Thus, this military unit is already in itself a hybrid phenomenon. During the festivities held by Ferdinand II, or at least in the illustrations of them, the Hussars are sometimes hardly distinguishable from the Turks. There are reports from festivities at other courts, for example in Germany, which state that sometimes the Hussaric party could not be distinguished from the Ottoman party, as they were dressed so similarly. This shows that these Ottomanizing elements of the Hussar outfit had already been assimilated to such an extent that they were no longer considered foreign. However, it was not only that the court would show their superiority over the Turks by simply staging mock battles, but during the end of the 17th century, Christian rulers themselves would dress up as Ottomans using Turkica from their own collections, or in the case of Maria Theresia, when she would dress up as also Turk in a portrait. This demonstrates that a shift in the perception and memory of the Ottomans took place, in which the perceived identity of the Ottomans changed from being the enemy to an admired warrior. The Ottoman booty and copies of such were used by the Habsburgs to create a certain memory of them, which should serve their self-representation and political propaganda. At the same time, the ways in which the objects were used reflect the fluid perceptions of the Ottomans, which are a result of the ever-changing political relationships between them and the Habsburg Empire.